right, and now it's always a pleasure to welcome our friend, VP of Web Strategy at WP Engine, David Vogelpohl, for his third appearance on the podcast. Hey, David, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me back on. I really appreciate being here again.
It's a big highlight for you, huh?
What's that?
It's a big highlight for you, huh?
It is a big highlight. It's my Web Hosting Cat interview at every Affiliate Summit. It's the peak of the Affiliate Summit for me.
Cool. Let's see, I want to catch up on some things, what's going on with WP Engine. Of course, there's been some big updates with WordPress. One of the things I wanted to, we haven't talked about this before, but on the WP Engine website, the big focus is the digital experience platform. For those that might not be familiar with it, talk a little bit about that. What's that all about?
Yeah, so Digital Experience Platform is really kind of WP Engine's next evolution. And really for us, it was a journey that began back in 2010, roughly 2009, when WP Engine was founded, and kind of our roots as a managed host. And over time, we kept adding features and capabilities to WP Engine that were beyond what a normal host would offer. And so what it kind of drove us to realize is that our platform was evolving to be more than managed WordPress hosting. Now, there are other digital experience platforms, including other open source digital experience platforms like Acquia, for example, which performs a similar function in the Drupal context. And so WP Engine essentially has positioned ourselves as a digital experience platform in two ways. One, taking credit for the work and features we had added leading up to this point, but also to create a North Star for us to say, well, what will WP Engine continue to become? What are the classes of features we'll add and why? And having that North Star building out our digital experience platform is a way to define that and a way to focus our efforts.
Mm-hmm. Great. And there have been a lot of additions to the WP Engine web hosting lineup. One of my favorites is the inclusion of StudioPress themes, Genesis framework. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. That was a fun one for me in particular. Prior to joining WP Engine, I ran a Genesis agency for 5 years. So I had a lot of familiarity with the product and products, including the StudioPress themes, as well as using Genesis in an agency context to build out sites. So back in early 2018, the opportunity to purchase StudioPress and Genesis was made available to WP Engine, and I led our acquisition team internally. The team that did the diligence planning, or diligence, in other words, making sure all the revenue adds up, and other things, as well as what's called integration planning, in other words, preparing for integrating the business into the WP Engine business. After the acquisition, I lead the StudioPress brand within WP Engine. So in other words, all of the things Genesis and StudioPress, from the kind of revenue generation within the business to the products and marketing and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was really fun and exciting to participate in all those things and to continue to participate in it. But I think for me, one of the biggest benefits of the acquisition was the level of investment we've put into those products. Genesis and the StudioPress themes are something that WP Engine wants to improve and grow, and we've almost or more than quadrupled the investment in engineering in those products since the acquisition. So there's a lot more R&D investment going into it than was previously done, and so I think that's good for the health of the products, and of course the ecosystem of people behind that who rely on those products to build stuff. And so as we think about the future, what will Genesis become? What will the StudioPress themes become? Especially in a Gutenberg world, there's a lot of exciting opportunities. There's a lot of challenges and a lot of cool things to figure out. But one of the first things we did right after the acquisition was to make the StudioPress themes and Genesis free to all WP Engine customers. So this was a really powerful kind of asset or assets that our customers get to take advantage of. And my agency days, what I would do is I would have my customers choose from StudioPress themes, and then I would customize those themes as a way to get my projects done faster, have higher profit margin. And so now all of those themes and the Genesis framework are freely available, support for them is freely available to all WP Engine customers.
Yeah, it's really the ideal marriage, really. You got the awesome managed WordPress hosting and my personal opinion is the best things available in the market.
Yeah, there was a lot of comments in social media that it was like peanut butter and chocolate. I think one person said my favorite framework and my favorite platform are now together. And I think, that's a fun part of it, but I think it's also a challenge. It's something to live up to. Is, yes, people love these tools and them being together is nice, but how does it actually materially come to life? What does it mean that they're married? How can WP Engine support Genesis and the theme so that they still work on other platforms and don't only work on our platform? But yes, it's this notion of peanut butter and chocolate being great together, but it also presents this challenge of like, well, how do we live up to these expectations? And so that's what we bring to work every day is, well, how do we honor the community and what the businesses they built around this technology, but how do we make it actually true that them together is a better thing?
You mentioned Gutenberg. David, what's your personal opinion of WordPress Gutenberg?
I think Gutenberg is an important evolution in WordPress. I think that prior to the Gutenberg release, there was a lot of fear in the ecosystem about what would happen. I think it was much, what's the phrase, much to do about nothing, or much ado about nothing. When you looked at the rollout, when it occurred, and most people in the WordPress world have automatic updates of WordPress, so it got into millions and millions of sites very, very quickly. And the support impact that we've seen in the ecosystem, not only with WP Engine or StudioPress, but other hosts, other plugin providers, has been that it hasn't actually been that big of a problem. So I think from the fear perspective, in my view, we've gotten past that. Now, maybe not every person has gotten past that, but I would say that the fear that it's going to break WordPress, in my view, that's no longer a fear. So the second thing is, well, what is its role in WordPress, and should it be there, and why is it there, and things like that. And people have their own opinions about should it be there or not be there. But I would think if people just ask themselves honestly, is the old editing experience, is the old WYSIWYG, is Tiny MCE editor, that old classic editing experience, is it actually better than Gutenberg? Is using shortcodes better? Are using widgets better? The frank answer is no, it's not. Matt, in his State of the Word address, gave the example of his own personal experience writing a blog post and going back into the text editor to edit the code like 16 times or 8 times, some crazy number, just to write one blog post. I feel like Gutenberg allows you to create more beautiful pages without having to go back in to edit code all of the time. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The ability to use reusable blocks, to have blocks that are pre-configured, pre-designed, in alignment with your theme, and allow the content creator to get that content out faster is a very powerful thing. And what developers can create with those blocks to empower the content creator makes their work more valuable. So in other words, if you're a designer or a developer cranking out landing pages, that's not super valuable. If you created reusable elements that content creators could use to create their own elements, you can focus your time and energy on creating cool integrated things, sophisticated experiences, versus just the next landing page over and over and over again. And of course, the campaign managers or the content creators don't have to wait in your backlog for you to get to that project to create that next piece of content. And this is something the WP Engine uses on its site quite extensively, actually. And prior to Gutenberg, we used Beaver Builder for this, and now we're using Gutenberg in different contexts. We actually still use both, because I think both are good choices depending on what you're doing. But it took the content creation time of a new landing page for a new campaign from weeks to hours or minutes, depending on the campaign creator that's creating it. You've just democratized content for those campaign creators. Now you might ask yourself, well, did that mean we didn't need as many designers and developers? I can assure you we didn't lay anybody off when we deployed this. What ended up happening, of course, is they ended up working on more valuable things, integrations with other technologies, automating some of our systems, making it even easier for content creators to create dynamic, integrated content, and we actually hired more of them, not laid them off. But I don't know, I think Gutenberg, we're in kind of the first iteration of it. There's more iterations to come. There's various phases where it'll address the menus and the sidebar. But even beyond that, what people in the ecosystem with plugins and just people who create on their own that are going to do with those blocks are going to change WordPress for the better. And so I think fundamentally I'm a huge fan. Do I think version 1 is the first thing to go use on every experience you're going to build? No, I don't. I think with anything you need to understand what its capabilities are, how you can use it. But I think over time it'll be a very, very powerful force, and it's long overdue. The old editing experience was just crap.
Gotcha. Now I know you've been doing a lot of speaking on WordPress automation tools, particularly with, say, push and pull content. Can you talk about maybe a couple of them that you like?
Sure. So at Affiliate Summit, we did a presentation on automating content creation with WordPress. And we explored a few different areas with that. And I think some of my favorite ones were like Social Web Suite, which allows you to kind of automate your social media generation, what you're posting and how you're promoting content directly with WordPress. So as you're writing that post, you can schedule the tweet or the Facebook account. You can have multiple WordPresses tied into it. So especially if you're like an affiliate marketer with a lot of little niche sites, you can leverage that to have one social media management presence tied into your WordPresses. So that's a really powerful one that I like. My co-presenter, Brian Messenlaner of AppPresser, talked about WordAI, which is a way to feed keywords into an artificial intelligence that will generate AI-created content. Now, you might think, oh, well, some people are going out and creating a bunch of crappy content. Sure, people use it for that, but the way you really want to use it is to automatically create content via the AI that you go then and massage and edit and tighten up. So that way it looks like a human wrote it, and you've used AI to assist you in creating that content, but you didn't have to come up with it all on your own from the beginning. And I think as someone who blogs somewhat frequently, and one of my biggest things is that maybe not writer block, but just like time block, where it's like I really want to write this like thoughtful piece, but I just don't have the time to do it, and everybody gets stuck on this content treadmill. So WordAI was kind of a nice tool, I thought, to generate the content piece, but then you can kind of go in behind and clean it up.
Great way to get you going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Starting point. Cool. Let's see. One other thing about WP Engine, the WP Engine environment I wanted to talk to you about was the Solution Center. There's some great tools available in there. Like I think there's the e-commerce toolkit. Can you talk a little bit about what you get in there?
Yeah, so the Solution Center is an area of the WP Engine site. It's also surfaced in our customers portal, but what it is basically a curated area of solutions, largely plugins, but also SaaS providers and other kind of local development tools. And what we do is we actually have a team of WordPress developers who test each one of them. They look for code quality. They do some light security checking. They also do things like look at our customer support tickets to see if our customers have problems with the plugin. And then they also will work with the plugin authors to optimize their plugins for our platform. So our platform has very aggressive caching and security rules for page speed and to help keep your site safe. And so we work with those plugin authors to make sure that their plugins are compatible with our platform. But in addition to that, when we vet them and then verify that they're a quality plugin or quality solution, we then list them in the Solution Center. We're actually planning on expanding that, making that more visible for our customers. But if you go to wpengine.com/solution-center, then you can look at the list of solutions that we've curated. Again, super advanced WordPress developers doing that testing, making sure the plugin does what it says it does, making sure our customers don't have a problem with it, it's not popping up in support tickets, and then making sure that it's scalable and it's going to do what it says it's going to do.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks, Michael.
Always good to see you.
Absolutely.
All right. David Vogelpohl.